What's up, this is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and the last review I want to do for you today is the last of the X-Force 3-pack from San Diego Comic-Con. This is Archangel. It's a rebuilt version of the Bucky Cap base body. He's got an all-new head sculpt, which looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It's a nice, decent sculpt. It looks like it might have gotten pinched a little bit in production, but it still looks pretty solid. The mask is sculpted, the face is painted pretty nicely, so overall I'm happy. Paintwork's solid. He's got the ball disc, or disc, whatever you want to call it, joint. So he's got the disc in there, and then he rotates, so full range of motion in the head. The wings are removable. This pegs into the flight stand hole on his back, so that pegs into there. And then of course the wings go into that. This is the color of the standard release Archangel wings. The wings for the Comic-Con exclusive figure are the much more metallic color. So that's kind of an oversight, I guess. It's not a horrible problem, but yeah, it is what it is. Not really going to complain about that. The wings on this guy are amazing. Especially if you're going to compare them to the X-Men Classics figure, the wings are fantastic. They're not perfect though, and I'll explain why I'm saying that. First of all, they look great. They're absolutely wonderful. One thing that I would like is some way to put them on a flight stand or something like that with the wings on. Right now you can't do that, so you're going to have to figure out your own way to stand him, well, not stand him, to hang him or whatever in a flight pose. But either way, they still look great. If you're just going to put them on the ground, you can pose the wings plenty. Let me take them off so I can show you. The wings have this joint right here, which pegs in, and both pieces hinge on that separately, independently, so you can do whatever you want with that. There's a hinge here. I'm not real crazy about this square where they connect. It could be, I think, rounded to make it look a little bit better, but it's alright. Now, if you notice, this pops off, and what you can do is, and I don't really recommend it personally, I know a lot of the guys are saying it looks good, I don't care for it. You can pop the wings off on both sides and swap them around so that they're on the opposite way, so that they curve back. Now that's okay, it lines up pretty much just as well as the other way. That's fine, I don't think that's a problem. If you want to swap them around so that the wings are curled back instead of forward, I think that's perfectly fine. And just so you can see what that looks like, I'll put them on real quick. That's not what I was saying as far as I don't really recommend it. This part's okay. So if you look now, the wings are curled backwards instead of forward, so it's more of a flight, I guess, a flight pose. That's fine. Some guys are taking them off. And I don't really recommend you do this a whole lot because you might end up chipping the paint. Some guys are taking them off and putting them on like this, and I think that looks horrible. It doesn't line up at all. The feathers are going the wrong direction. I really don't recommend that. You can do it, it does work, but I think it looks horrible. So my 2 cents, don't do that. Leave them on the way they're supposed to be on, and it's fine. Now here's my complaint about the wings, because obviously they look fantastic compared to what we've gotten in the past. They're really, really loose. This just pegs in. This is built to be ratcheted. That's not a ratcheted peg though. It's just a solid, smooth peg. So when you put it in, it ratchets a little bit, but they're really, really loose. They fall real easily. If you just bump them, they fall. And that's not the worst part. For me, the worst part is the joints that keep the wings where they are. They don't hold the weight barely at all. It's really this one in particular. The wing's just too heavy for it. If you give it any touch, it goes. And this is actually one of the tighter ones that I've seen. A lot of them are even a lot looser than that. So I'm not crazy about the wings in that regard because they look awesome, but if you can't pose them, then what's the point? Now I'm being picky about it just so you guys are aware of the potential issues. It's still great, and if you're careful, we'll see they just fell again. They don't necessarily fall. Well, that one's doing it now. It's probably fixable with a little bit of super glue, but do that at your own risk because you could end up screwing up that nice shiny paint job. Overall, still they look awesome, so it's probably worth finagling around it and making it work just because they look really cool. Very nice. And the regular release is not going to have this metallic. It's going to be this silver color instead. So be happy you got these. Even though they're not perfect, they're still really, really cool. Back to the figure. Paint job is average. I'd say a lot of the lines are fuzzy, especially in the lower torso. A little bit up here. They're not perfect. They don't line up. On the back, there's a little bit of chunks missing here and there. So the paint job, it's not anything special. It's adequate. I'm not going to complain about it, but don't expect it to stand out as a great paint job. Standard ball disc shoulder, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, wrist rotation, wrist pivot. There's no longer a cuff on for the glove on the forearm there on either side. He does still have a trigger finger, but it's not too much of a trigger finger, so it's not a real big deal. Ab crunch is still good, waist twist still good. T-jointed ball disc hips, although it's not really the ball disc, it's the new one with the cut joint, which is problematic for the paint job, but it is there. So you do have the articulation, just bear in mind that it's going to screw up the lines. Double jointed knees, shin twist, and then newly sculpted shins here, since he didn't need the big boot cuff that Bucky Cap had, so he's got new shins, and then he's got the ankle pivot and the new ankle rocker. So overall, he's a really cool figure. He's not perfect, of course. I didn't expect him to be. I know it's just a Marvel Legends figure for, what, $15? I guess it was $54 for 3 of them, so a little bit more than that. But it's he's worth the flaws. I know they can't make everything exactly how we want it, so that's all right by me. I do recommend it. He's definitely on the must-have list in my opinion. Put him up there with Wolverine. Psylocke is a lot less impressive than these two guys, but really, if you're an Archangel fan at all, this is definitely a must-have. He stands at 6 inches tall, and his wings are about 7.5 inches tall, so decent size for Marvel Legends. Good build for Archangel. No, not really complaining about that at all. It's a nice overall build for the figure. Great figure. And like I said, these wings are exclusive to the Comic-Con figure as far as we know so far. So I do suggest you get it without a doubt. Alright guys, that's it for the reviews for today. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for some more stuff coming up in the near future. And in the meantime, keep collecting.